Hey guys, Legendary Grimlock here, and today we're going to be seeing if SCP-682 could solo the MCU here. Now, this is very simple, very straightforward, but we're going to set some ground rules. So that SCP doesn't automatically annihilate or one-shot anybody, we're going to be doing a stats equalize situation, or a tier equalize situation. Basically, SCP is going up against these 10 characters: Captain Marvel, Hulk, Iron Man from Infinity War, Hela, Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, excuse me, Scarlet Witch, Infinite Ultron, Thor, Supreme Strange, and Dormammu, in that order. However, we are not going to be using the higher end feat, or basically the entirety of the SCP versus feats here. What we'll do instead is basically keep it around the universal to multiversal margin, which is pretty much the MCU entirely. And there are plenty of universal metas you can scale above, or scale to characters and scale them above them. And then we're only going to be focusing on the Hax's abilities, IQ, intelligence, and the adaptability of the characters. Basically the same for SCP-682 as well here, as we do have things where he basically basically destroyed SCP-6820 or 6820, where he could rewrite the entire verse and the beings within it, including beings like SCP-3812, who can literally rewrite things on a narrative level. Keep in mind that SCP verse is infinite in size with infinite things, etc., etc. You know, the universal materials. But without further ado, we're only be focusing on his hacks, his abilities, and how he can adapt to each character. So, yeah, without further ado, we can start off with the first round, and that is Captain Marvel. Now, Carol really doesn't have much to really damage SCP-682 or put him down permanently. All she really has is her physical strength, which is in the, I would actually say, lower than Infinity War Thor, and would probably be around the same levels as Bleeding Edge Iron Man and the Hulk, who are all still capable of drawing blood from Thanos and being able to stagger him with his attacks here. Or you could say her attack potency might be a bit above, albeit this is a much younger and a much weaker Thanos than the previous one here. So, yeah, she's impressive. She also has her energy absorption abilities and stuff like that, being able to reduce her photon blasts, which are light speed in general, and her flight speed and combat speed would also be there as well, as she's reacting to Kree fire, which is moving through space in little more than a couple seconds, which again would put her at light speed. However, SCP-682 can actually just push that aside by bending space and time around him and just unraveling reality around him to create this force field that allows him to push through attacks here. Meaning all he really has to do is kind of just wait for Carol to get close one time and then just snap his jaws, and that's it. Yeah, it's it's not really too much here for Captain Marvel. She can't physically damage him. She really can't do anything to him. And again, he could just push the space and time around her. And considering the sheer fact that Carol's powers are basically on the Space Stone, this means that he can honestly just negate her powers and abilities and just walk up on her, bite, and that's it. Yeah. So next off on this list is the Incredible Hulk here. And yes, he should be stronger than Captain Marvel. I think that's pretty simple. He's been able to deck Leviathans, being able to rip them asunder and stuff like that. And in all honesty, he's pretty consistent across the board here, being able to stagger Thanos, stagger the likes of Zerter, suplex Fenris the Wolf, who should actually scale a little bit towards Hela and Thor as well. We also have the sheer fact that Hela should also scale to the 10 rings, which we saw in What If had been able to knock out Odin temporarily. And again, Hulk himself has been able to just do just about anything in the MCU, being able to throw tanks, throw submarines. Actually was able to crack Antarctica a little bit when he first transformed here. And he's also able to dent vibranium and strike with enough force to actually hit like a meteor dash atom bomb, all right? And this is what Thor pretty much compared his strikes to. He also has his thunderclapping, his regeneration and stuff like that. basic brute stuff here. But how does he fare against SCP-682? Now, if he is stronger than Captain Marvel, this means he should possibly be able to bypass SCP's space-time shield. That's what I'm pretty much going to call it, because he's literally making, moving space and time around him to make a shield here. And if that's the case, then Hulk might actually draw some blood from SCP. However, this is a bad thing, because SCP-682's blood is made out of antimatter. And we all know what happens when antimatter and matter actually meet. You see, the problem with Hulk actually being able to damage SCP is that, again, he can also just change his properties to something Hulk can't damage. Again, he's probably going to just make it out of vibranium, or maybe something stronger than vibranium, or make his skin stronger than that, because again, he'll just adapt to Hulk's punches to the point where Hulk cannot get strong enough to actually hurt him. And again, keep in mind, this is in and within SCP's capabilities here. He can also affect the Hulk's mind, because we know Hulk is vulnerable to mental attacks here, by using radio waves to make Hulk forget what he's even doing, to make Hulk forget possibly that he's Hulk. It's very possible here. Now, let's move on to Iron Man. Now, Iron Man in the MCU is actually pretty broken in terms of power and abilities, and he's been able to draw blood from Thanos, actually doing better than a lot of the characters in that entire fight. Honestly, a lot better than that version of Doctor Strange, who would be stronger than his first movie, because he actually improved, and we can tell this by the movie, as he's using things like the Crimson Bands of Sidorak and stuff like that. He's also able to take a blast from the Soul Stone, and being able to somewhat contend with Thanos in a physical department here, and being able to overpower the likes of the Power Stone, all right, which has been stated to be a planet-destroying force, depending on who's using it. And again, Thanos is also using it to wipe out the entire universe. And again, the Infinity Stones do have a lot of universal metas, and they pretty much scale to each other. However, this is where SCP's weather or atmospheric manipulation comes into play. He can change the environment around him to suit his needs, and actually cause it to be acidic to any form of metal. This even includes nanotech, which is found in SCPs here. So this means that Tony is pretty much running out of time. He's running on the clock here. So I kind of think it's pretty simple. SCP gets through the first round with low difficulty. He's just way too adaptable, way too versatile to basically be put down by these lesser characters. But let's see how round 2 does, starting off with Hela. Now, Hela is kind of just done for in this one here. You see, Hela's main thing is that she has her blade, she has her overtop generation, and she gets stronger and stronger the longer she's on Asgard. So we'll just throw SCP-682 on Asgard. And keep in mind, her blades are capable of just running through Uru pretty easily. So there seems to be no denying that these blades are powerful. They can cut Hulk, they can cut Thor, they can pierce Zerter when he's at the peak of his power. And in all honesty, it's it's pretty simple where Hela kind of goes in this fight here. You see, the problem here is that Hela may accidentally not only spray antimatter on herself and whatever's around her, which will also cause Asgard to disintegrate itself very slowly, as when matter touches antimatter, it doesn't result in good things. And the thing is, though, I think what's going to happen in this fight is that Hela may try to cut SCP-682 in half here. And even if we say she does that giant, sword combination, or giant sword battalion against Zerter, SCP-682 can actually grow to the size of planets and stars, and even so big that he can consume whole galaxies. Again, galaxies, meaning multiple. And the thing is here, I kind of see that happening to Hela. Either she rips him in half and creates another SCP, or he grows to the size of Asgard itself, or enough to consume Asgard, and that's it. GG's. Next up, we have Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, and I think this should be kind of simple where it goes here. SCP cannot die to erasure. And keep in mind, the snap actually hurts Thanos. It actually like kills him. But let's say he can be healthy every time he uses the snap, right? Let's get rid of that liability. Well, there's none of these stones that can affect him. SCP can push apart narrative, push apart reality itself here. And again, they've tried to even drop him in pocket dimensions of other SCPs in order to erase him from existence. But again, SCP-682 always comes back stronger than the SCP he was before and absorbs them sometimes. So SCP-682 could just wind up absorbing Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, next up we have is Scarlet Witch. And if reality warping doesn't really affect him, then how does Wanda do? You know? Yes, she's more powerful than Thanos here. She's more powerful than the entirety of the Infinity Gauntlet here. But again, she doesn't have, what's the word? She doesn't have the necessary means to even try to put down him. You might say, oh, well, she could take away his powers. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work on SCP-682. And again, he doesn't die unless he wants to. Keep in mind, we're still talking about the avatar of SCP-682, not the actual true form still. And the thing is, Wanda is also eligible for absorption. Her powers and abilities, her chaos magic, if you will, is likely to be absorbed by SCP-682 in a very interesting way. And then he could use those abilities throughout the matchup here. And in all honesty, with that being said here, with her powers somewhat being based on reality warping, mind control, stuff like that, which SCP-682 can also do, even using things like radio waves to actually scramble his opponent's mind. And again, with Wanda not being the most stable person in the MCU, then yeah, it doesn't look good here. He gets through this round low to mid difficulty. But let's move on to round 3, and that's Infinite Ultron, Thor, and Demon Doctor Strange, or Strange Supreme. Now, starting off with Infinite Ultron, again, in the Infinity Stones, he does have the more powerful set of Infinity Stones here. But the problem with this is here, SCP can just kind of go beyond him, like, anytime. Like, if he tries to eat the galaxy, it'd actually be funny because SCP-682 may just grow again to the size of galaxies, or at least the size to actually eat galaxies, excuse me, and can even become just as big as the main universe in SCP, in pretty much the SCP verse, which again is infinite in size. Now, yes, Infinite Ultron does have some impressive feats, don't get me wrong here, but he's not doing anything to basically harm an SCP-682 in this equal stat scenario. He's adapted to SCP-33812, who basically is an Infinity Gauntlet, but doesn't need the stones. He's basically the Infinity Stones themselves, rewriting reality on a much higher level, with the planes of existence in the MCU just being far higher. So in all honesty, he would probably just eat Ultron. It is what it is here. But let's move on to MCU Thor at his peak here, at Love and Thunder. Him fighting against, again, a much stronger enemy than Thanos. Yes, Gore is stronger than Hela and Thanos. I mean, it's kind of simple here. I mean, he's fighting against a Thor that would be able to one-shot Hela and Thanos here. And honestly, he's back at his peak, if not far beyond what his Infinity War peak was here. And yes, Thor is one of the more powerful members in the MCU. And again, still continues that trend to this very day. But the problem with this is here, he's just another Infinite Ultron with Hulk here. He's powerful, he's strong, he's durable. But again, SCP-682 can do all those things and more. And then finally, for this final round, we have Strange Supreme. And this is actually pretty interesting because Strange Supreme is likely to go that absorption route, you know. He's likely to absorb SCP-682 into him and try to steal his powers. And again, I think SCP-682 would allow this. Now, why would he allow this? And I think it kind of goes into the mind of SCP-682 because he would allow Strange to absorb him just to absorb him from the inside out. It would probably be one of the more grody and gruesome ways to go out here. But again, it would be Strange's own fault. I think after realizing all his magic can't do anything here, he would try his way to absorb SCP-682 or try to eradicate him from existence. But again, as we all know, SCP-682 cannot be erased or even, disintegrated on a narrative level, on pretty much any level, as a matter of fact. Even a device meant to erase the entirety of the SCP's, cosmology itself here was nothing compared to SCP-682. He not only destroyed it, but absorbed it as well. So that means he can't be killed by anything Strange Supreme does. And again, if he absorbs him, he just gets absorbed from the inside out, which I think is a very terrible way to go. But let's say, oh, well, he still has, all those demons inside of him and stuff like that. So there's no way you could possibly, they could possibly beat him. Okay. That's fine. That's cool. That's fine. He still absorbs these demons. Even if it's one by one, he's still winning regardless. In all honesty, it probably wouldn't take him long either. So, round 3, mid difficulty. Now, Dormammu. And in all honesty, this is just blatantly, it's kind of sad at this point. This is the most powerful being we've ever seen in the MCU, capable of absorbing entire dimensions, entire universes. Keep in mind, every universe in Marvel is infinite in size. There's no end to it. It's infinite. There's no stopping point when it comes to anything in the Marvel universe. Even the MCU is an infinite universe. It's just one universe in the larger Marvel multiverse or omniverse. All right. So what you really have here is a Dormammu that is very limited in how he works here. He wasn't even immune to the effects of the Time Stone. And again, SCP-682 can kind of just bypass everything we've seen from Dormammu so far, able to absorb entire universes and make them into his own, which these universes are simply just, or at least the dark dimension itself is beyond time and space. But again, SCP-682 can just grow to the same size as Dormammu, if not bigger. And then he can use a combination of things. He could simply absorb Dormammu and begin to slowly consume him. And keep in mind, the SCP verse is far beyond anything Dormammu has even dealt with. Infinite universes with infinite dimensions, countless elder gods, the tree of life itself, or sorry, not the tree of life, the tree of knowledge itself, almost went to Transformers for a minute. But when it comes down to it, right, when it comes down to the entirety of the SCP verse versus the simplicity of the MCU, it's not even a contest here. So as of no surprise, even in an equal stats scenario, even if we're only focusing on his hacks and abilities here, SCP-682 gets through the MCU with literally no difficulty whatsoever. Maybe low difficulty at best. But again, there are those who would probably give him a minor challenge, so low to mid difficulty, but he gets it done with a 100% completion. But hey, that's going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And we only have 3 more videos left, and then the final of the Total Drama Survival story. Peace.